Hello and welcome to my review of Split Second. The game is developed by Blackrock Studios, published by Disney Interactive, and is available on the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, PC, iPhone and Java ME platforms, and I'm reviewing the Xbox 360 version. Before I go any further, I want to get the inevitable comparison between this and Blur out of the way. Both games stand up to examination themselves. There's sufficient differences between them for you to actually own both the games and enjoy them both. Of course there's similarities in terms of you racing against other cars and trying to blow them up and trying to finish first and so on and so forth, but the games play and feel quite different. And you know, if you're a racing fan, you know, you'll play Project Gotham 4, Forza 3 or whatever, and you'll enjoy the experience that both the games give. It's a different experience and it's the same here. So that's it as far as the comparisons go. I'm not going to clutter up this review anymore with comparisons to this and other games. I'm just going to review this game purely on its own merits. The game is set in the future and is actually a television reality show where you are one of the contestants, and the objective is to score enough points in order to be able to get through to the next season of the show. Now this is done by various ways. You have the simple and straightforward race, which you're seeing here at the moment, where the objective is to finish first. You then have a survival mode where you, the player, race around the track and you have to dodge barrels dispensed from trucks. Now there are two different coloured barrels. There's blue barrels which cost you time and red barrels which cause the car to explode, and you gain points in this game mode by overtaking trucks. You have a set time limit, so the more trucks you overtake within the set time limit, the more points you score and the higher up the rank you finish. The next mode is air attack, and in this mode you have to dodge missiles that are being fired from a helicopter which is circling the track overhead. You'll see these little red markers appear on the track where the missiles are going to impact, so you have to dodge them. The more missiles you avoid, the more points you score, and again, the higher up the rank you finish. The next game mode is elimination, and this is a last man standing mode, so you always have to keep ahead of the car that's in last place, because when the timer runs out, the car that's in last place is eliminated, and this goes all the way down to the last two cars. So if you want to win the race, you've got to stay in first place, which is easier said than done. The next game mode is Detonator, and this one is essentially a game mode to set the fastest lap. You will race around the track, but as you go around the track, all of the environmental hazards will occur. So, for example, rock faces will explode out at you, aircraft will fall out of the sky, barrels will be exploding. And these can really slow you down. These can cause you a lot of damage or blow your car up or knock you off course, and can slow you down considerably, so you really do need to have as clean a run as possible in order to get the fastest time. And if not just contending with those environmental hazards, you have to race fast as well. It's really, really tough. And the final game mode is Air Revenge. Now this is similar to air attack, only this time you can use your power up meter to fire the missiles back at the helicopter and take the helicopter down. So again, it's about scoring points. The more points you score, the higher up the ranks you finish, the more points you get. There's also a multiplayer mode in the game. There's an 8-player online mode, and there's also a 2-player split screen offline mode as well. The game itself, the main game itself, is 72 event stages which are broken into 12 episodes of the show, and as I said earlier, those modes are broken down into the race types that I mentioned, so there's plenty of variety to keep you going. The actual gameplay itself is really fast and frenetic. There's always something going on. It employs the rubber band physics that we've seen used in other games as well, but the main difference in this one is it can be slightly more frustrating than in some other games of its type. The main reason is, in Split Second, you don't really have the ability to fire weapons behind the car. Because it's tied into the environment, it only really works if you're going after cars that are in front of you. Now, it is possible to activate an environmental event if a car is right near you, but if a car's behind you, certainly in the time that I've played it, I've not been able to activate anything that's actually taken them down, and this can mean that you can get ganged up on if you're leading the race. And quite often being in the lead doesn't pay off until you get around near the last lap, because you basically get everything thrown at you. And that's one of the minor niggles that I've got. One of the other minor niggles that I have is sometimes the handling of the car can be a bit over the top. By that I mean you can go into some drifts, and if you're not careful, the car can end up really locking up sideways, and you end up just heading towards the barrier, and there doesn't really seem to be an awful lot you can do about it. And this can get especially frustrating when you've got all manner of environmental things going off around you. You know, if you've got cars smacking into you and so on and so forth, that element can get quite frustrating. And the last little criticism that I have is, although the graphics are spectacular, as you can see in the review, the explosions, the events that go on within the race is just fantastic, it's out of this world. There does seem to be a brown veneer to everything, and consequently, although the environments are varied, because the colour palette tends to be the same throughout the game, it does tend to give the impression that there isn't a great deal of variety, and I think that's unfortunate because the tracks are considerably different. I mean, this track, for example, is nothing like the airport track, but because the graphics do have this sort of same colour palette issue going on, it does tend to cloud your judgments a little bit, and like I say, that is unfortunate because the graphics in this game, in my opinion, are excellent, and the events that go on, when you know, whole buildings come down or aircrafts come down, there's absolutely no slowdown whatsoever, and it just looks spectacular, and it really does add to the game. It's probably one of the most spectacular racing games that I've ever played in that sense. Despite the frustrations that I mentioned earlier, the game is incredibly addictive, and you can have like quick play modes if you just want to jump into the game, and the various elements within the quick play mode are unlocked by completing the main event, which is, as I mentioned before, the reality TV show. There are various cars as well in the game, and you can change the colour of the cars. You can you also get little decals as well, which reflect your achievements that you've got, and these are applied to the car. I mean, it's not major, but it's a nice touch as well. So, you know, the more achievements you get, the more decals unlock on your car. And pretty much as far as the gameplay goes, that's it. I think this has been one of the surprise hits for me this year. I wasn't really expecting that much from it. When somebody comes up with the premise of a racing game like this, it's either going to be fantastic or it's going to be diabolical, and the cynical part of me always tends to err on the side of the game being diabolical, but it's not, it's far from it. It really was a surprise game for me. I really have enjoyed playing it, and still enjoy playing it now. Yes, it has its frustrating moments, as I've already mentioned, but that's par for the course with games like this. You know, if you want a serious racing game whereby, you know, you can pull ahead of your opponents and it's all about purely how fast you go around the track, then this isn't the game for you. It's that simple. You know, go and get Forza 3, go and get, you know, a more serious racing game of that type. Don't go and get this. This is really more of an arcade style game, and, you know, based on that assessment, it is fantastic at what it does, and it's nice. I mean, I'm a big fan of racing games, and I love the serious racing games, but sometimes it's just nice to play a game that, you know, the rule books and, you know, the rigid physics go out of the window, and instead you actually get to play a game that you know, is so ridiculous, so over the top, that it's just simply enjoyable to play. And Split Second is one of those games. It really is a cracking game, and it's well worth buying. Thanks a lot for watching.